Hi, everybody, and welcome to MAGA Headline News. My name is Mike, and guys, I am back after almost probably 10 days or more. I was so sick, and I wasn't sick like that. What happened was I had some kind of cold, but I lost my voice. So every time it started coming back, I went to go record, and the second I started talking too much, it went back away. So I just had to give it some time, let it heal. So, I'm back now. And today, guys, I want to instead of doing just another story in the news or the goings on, what I want to do today is I want to bring up a video that I saw a while back that I felt like it never got enough traction. And it's something that was made during the time of President Trump's first term. Okay. And it's a warning from a woman in Yugoslavia that I came across years ago that I felt like was one of the most powerful messages and right on target messages that I ever heard. And, I remembered back, let's see, in the 90s, right? So when this all happened in Yugoslavia, the situation she's going to be talking about, I do remember being a teenager and this stuff happening in the news. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to play this message from her, which is a warning to American citizens with her describing what happened in her country in Yugoslavia, where they used the same exact playbook on Yugoslavia. And it ended in a brutal civil war. Okay. And the thing is, I want you guys to listen and listen. I'm going to interrupt once in a while just for the copyright situation where I don't want to get dinged. And I'll try to be as short as possible when I interrupt. But I want you to listen for the key points of the things that were done to Yugoslavia and the citizens of Yugoslavia. It's the same Marxist and Soros playbook that they did over there. Only they are predominantly white in Yugoslavia. There's not many mix of races there. So what they have is religion, and they're very religious. So what they did was the way they got us on the sexuality and the race and stuff, they got Yugoslavia with the religion, okay, where they stirred them all up and the media was controlled over there, just like it. You're going to hear the same exact thing, the same exact playbook. I'm going to interrupt once in a while. This is 15 minutes, okay? And this is something that I think everybody should hear, okay? Even if you already know what's going on. I know a lot of us understand, but this is actually a good video to play for people that are just starting to wake up, just starting to learn about what's going on, or even some Democrats that you might feel are really worth the time to try to help them to wake up. I know a lot of them are lost. There's a lot of them that are just gone. Okay. But this may be a good tool trying to help maybe that one family member to wake up. Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to play this. Pay attention to it. It's 15 minutes, but I promise you it's well worth it. If you haven't seen it before, it's well worth the watch. All right, I'm going to turn it on now.
This is my message for the greatest country in the world. In the light of the recent events in the United States, I felt morally obliged to shed light on a very similar chain of events that took place in my country during the 90s. The cause of those events was the same: a constantly re-emerging ultimate evil, nihilistic, non-theistic religion/cult that caused hundreds of millions of deaths in the 20th century and countless suffering. Now, proponents of that religion want to run the experiment once again, and in that experiment, you, people of America, will be lab mice. Not so long ago, I was a lab mouse of dictators in my country. That country was Yugoslavia. Rather than giving you lessons about history of my country, I want to give you the timeline of the events which led to an extremely bloody war and dissolution of Yugoslavian Federacy. I will leave it to you to make conclusions about similarities with recent events in the United States. In the 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall marked the victory of the free world over tyrannical monstrosity of communism across the Europe. However, Yugoslav communists didn't feel like letting go of their precious powers. Since the climate in Europe was extremely anti-communist at the time, they knew they needed a new strategy, an ideology that would seduce the masses and keep the power in their hands. So they come up with a very clever idea, to rebrand the communism in Yugoslavia and to change its name into socialism. Not any type of socialism, but a very special type, the National Socialism. Sounds familiar? The playbook they used to progress with their agenda was already tested in Nazi Germany. To establish National Socialism, you must first install hatred in people. In order to create genocidal levels of hatred, you must divide people of one country in well-defined groups. In other words, you must create tribal or groupthink. This can be achieved in different ways. You can divide people by ethnicity, by race, by religion. You can let your imagination go wild.
Exactly what they're doing here, splitting us into groups, race, sexuality, religion, gender. And then once they have the groups, boom, they split those groups into smaller and smaller pieces. They're keeping us so divided and fighting while they commit every form of treason available on us.
Since Yugoslavs were white and practically indistinguishable among themselves, the only card they could play was the religion card. Yugoslavia was very mixed religion-wise, and we had Orthodox Christian Serbs, Catholic Croats and Slovenes, and Muslim Bosnians. A perfect starting position. In the next phase, you must start making such social policies so terrible that will inevitably lead to the countless individual disadvantages. When the consequences of such government policies become obvious, you must start claiming that the cause of those inequalities is nothing but discrimination and hatred of one group towards another, and naturally, you must start screaming that those inequalities must be corrected by favoring the oppressed, discriminated group over the oppressor group. Enter national quotas for hiring. Now just replace national with race or women. Once the groups are formed and well-defined, it's needless to say that all the mainstream media in Yugoslavia were government-controlled and were fueling the narrative about mutual discrimination and hatred relentlessly.
And that's where all of our narratives come from the media, okay? All these people and the colleges, the professors, it's being cranked out of every college. Without the colleges, without the media, none of this hatred, none of this fighting, the isms, the sexism, none of it would be going on. It's all fueled by the media and the college professors cranking these kids out by the thousands.
The growing fear and feeling of insecurity destroyed relationships, marriages, friendships. As fear of discrimination and hostility among groups were growing, people started retreating and isolating within their own groups because they didn't feel safe anymore with the individuals of the other group. All of a sudden, staged and very well organized mass protests started all over the country. Protests against the oppression and killing of one group by another. At first, those protests were peaceful, but soon enough, rioting and burning started. Now that you have the attention of the public,
exactly what we got. Every time something happens, whether they make it happen or they grab onto an event, we get the protests, and then the Soros funded organizations send in the agitators to start burning and rioting. Okay, they leave the pallets of bricks in the middle of the street, and where do they go? They always go right to the Democrat-controlled areas where the mayors make the police back off, and they go to the minority neighborhoods. The Democrats that love minorities so much, they go burn down minority neighborhoods. Why? Because the Democrats control those areas and will not arrest, or they will be let out of jail, and the judges will not prosecute.
You need sparks. What is a spark? A spark is a convenient event of murdering of a random member of one group by a hateful member of another. And you usually need more than one of those. At this point, people were still not completely divided. There were still reasonable people left, those who understood we are all one nation under God, and that we will not kill each other under any circumstances. They went out protesting together, singing for peace and holding their hands. But the hunger for the absolute power of socialists was stronger than our love for each other, and shootings and attacks at protesters continued. In the next phase, the tipping point with no return was reached. People started erecting barricades at the entrance of their cities, their neighborhoods, even on highways and roads. Barricades were guarded with armed civilians. Each and every attack.
And we're right there. We're right at that point. In fact, it already happened once with that bullshit Chop or Chaz or whatever the blue-haired freaks established, okay, a few years ago, where they took over the whole community and tried to make their own socialist paradise, okay, which didn't work out very well for them. But that's exactly where we're at now. And the colleges are becoming to the point where certain people can't even go there without violence. It's getting there. We're very far along in this plan. This is a Soros plan, a Marxist agenda. They've done it in other countries too, not just Yugoslavia. But this girl is very brave. This girl does a great job of explaining this stuff. But you could see the parallels and what is happening in America. Okay, is exactly what happened to her.
Attempt of the law enforcement to remove barricades and to de-escalate the situation was in vain, since they would be ambushed and killed. Peace couldn't be restored anymore, because headlines, photos, and videos of dead people propagated through mass media became too explicit and horrifying. Even those hardcore idealists who believed in one nation under God, peace and love, snapped under the pressure. At that point, army was deployed to restore order, but they couldn't do much, because they were clueless about who was the perpetrator and who was the victim, simply because there were perpetrators and victims on both sides. In the final stages, even the army was attacked during the negotiated retreat.
And this is why it's good that the American patriots have kept our cool. We have not responded yet. Okay, we all know, okay, that the American patriots are far more powerful than these idiots on the left. But it's a good thing now that we really haven't gotten off our couches. We really haven't responded yet. Okay, because if Trump has to invoke the Insurrection Act, which he's probably going to have to do, all right, at some point, it's a good thing that we haven't gone out there and done this, because the people that are going to be out in the streets rioting are the enemy of America. The ones that have decided to turn their backs on us, the ones that have decided to tear our country down. Okay, so if it comes to that, where Trump has to declare insurrection, it's a good thing that it won't happen like that here, like it did in Yugoslavia, where our military won't know who the problem is.
And 50 or 100 soldiers were killed. And just like that, Yugoslavia found itself in a civil war. City against city, village against village, family against family, and so on until the whole territories became cleaned of the members of the enemy group. Genocide, ethnic cleansing, relocation of hundreds of thousands of people were everyday news. It lasted 4 years. 100,000 people died. Some 500,000 were displaced. Those people lost everything. Yugoslavia was drowned in the bloods of thousands of innocent people and destroyed forever. You might wonder how we let that happen. How could we let things get so much out of control? That was because we didn't realize who were the real enemies, the enemies of the Yugoslav people as a whole. Instead, we were brainwashed into buying the story that we, the people, are the enemies of each other, while our true enemies were advancing with their sick, demented agenda, which...
Exactly. We have been turned against one another by race, by gender, by sexuality, and it is all the media, the Democrats, the Marxists. They have turned us on one another while they loot and destroy this country and try to take our Constitution down for their Marxist agenda. And that's exactly what they're doing while we fight. Okay. And we really need the left to wake up. I know a lot of us are really pissed off at a lot of the people on the left. It's disgusting. I get it. For some reason, they can't seem to get it. But if we're going to save our country, we need more people to wake up. We really don't want it to come down to the Insurrection Act. We would really like, with this auto pen scandal looks really good right now, where it looks like we're going to be, Trump's going to be able to really blow this thing wide open. Okay. And hopefully we're not going to need any Insurrection Act or anything. And hopefully people could really wake up, but that is yet to be seen. Okay.
Had as the ultimate goal the total and unlimited power. This brings me to present times, the year 2020, and to you, American people. Unless you were living under the rock, you might have noticed that something very strange and vicious is happening in your country. But you're not exactly sure what it is and where it came from. Because the last time you checked, you were one nation under God, a country of free, independent individuals with equal rights under the law and core values of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Until Obama, until yes, we can. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to find out all roads lead to Obama. He may not have masterminded this whole thing. He may not have been the one that, the top echelons of it all, but you're going to see that all roads lead to Obama. It escalated with him. He started bringing in the refugees back in 2009, 2010, millions of them. You're going to see that the mass migration, all of it, all roads are going to lead to Obama eventually. Watch.
All of a sudden, there is protesting, rioting, arson, murder, destruction of public and private property, and lots of people screaming how unbelievably racist and unjust America is. And before you even manage to prepare your morning coffee and turn the TV on, once united Americans are at each other's throat. And a bunch of nice and caring people on TV are telling you how you should accept the violence and hatred against Americans because you deserve it. If you have paid attention to what happened in Yugoslavia, I hope you have realized by now that your true enemies are not your fellow Americans. The ones who are, they want you to hate each other and to kill each other. While
we're at the point now where it is very clear that the left-wing politicians, the media, the American people don't even matter anymore. Okay. We're being basically told to move aside for all these illegals. And there are people that are so brainwashed that are just going along with it. We don't even matter. The illegals are what matters. Our rights, none of it. Our money just being blatantly spent on them. Okay. What's really happening here is we are being pushed out. They are building a country within a country with our money, and we don't fit in. And they're right in our face telling us this. We're at that tipping point, okay, where we need everyone to wake up immediately, not just the people that are awake already.
They're taking away your constitutional rights, your freedoms, and your country, your heritage, your way of life, and the future of your children. Although it is more than obvious that there are very well-organized groups used as tools to install and amplify hate and to create division between Americans, there are only metastases which have spread through once healthy America. Of course, there are violent terrorist organizations and they must be removed as well. But the main cancer that is killing America, the one where all this mayhem is coming from, is somewhere else. The real and extremely dangerous enemies of American people are the elected officials in your government, in your states, in your courts. Representatives, governors, mayors, judges. The ones who are pulling the ropes. The ones who hate America and American people so much that would even sacrifice the life and prosperity of their own children just to see it burn to the ground and American blood spilled.
Okay, think about that, what she said. They will sacrifice their own children, the life and prosperity of their own children. And when you think about that, I want you to think about how many of these politicians and actors and stars and the ones that are involved, how many of them have these transformer children. Okay. It's not a coincidence. Something's going on that all these people, all these famous people, all these politicians all have these trans kids. There's something more to these kids just waking up and thinking they're trans. Okay. Because for one select group of people like that, these elitists, to all have trans children, something's going on. And yes, they are sacrificing them. It's common sense. It's Occam's razor, common sense.
Those are really sick, demented, ideologically possessed people. And they are in high positions in the government. They are governing your states, your cities, and making decisions in your courts. You know very well who they are. You know very well what they already did to once beautiful and prosperous American states and cities. They are resentful, power and bloodthirsty. They want you and your children suffering in misery and begging them for mercy. They won't stop, no matter how much you try to appease them. Unless you, American people, stop them. You're maybe thinking this is not possible. But think again. How many of them tyrants are out there? And how many of you decent American people? What makes them think they can do whatever they want with you? That they can play you for a fool over and over again, and that they're invincible? What makes them think they're gods, morally and intellectually superior compared to you, freedom-loving Americans? Yes, you guessed it. The fact that they managed to get away with it every single time. They faced no pushback and not a single consequence for their crimes against American people. The time has come for them to pay for their treason. How you should act? First thing that you must do, stop caring whether you've been called a racist, a white supremacist, a selfish person who wants to spread the C-1984, or whatever nice name they have for you. This irrational fear of stigma, a phobia of being called a racist, has way more destructive implications than you can even imagine. Stop caring whether you'll offend anyone. Number of people offended by you practicing your First Amendment rights is directly proportional to how successful you are in that. Which means, the more offended, the merrier. Stop attempting to have a fact or logic-based rational conversation. Stop explaining yourself. It's useless. You're wasting your precious time and energy. They have a playbook, and changing their minds is not part of it. Second, exercise your Second Amendment rights. This means study carefully and in detail gun laws in your state. Next, arm yourself. If you have never used a gun before, make sure to take a basic gun training. This is very important because you must know how to use a gun properly to protect yourself, your family, and your property, so that you can avoid hurting yourself or innocent people as a consequence of improper gun use. Be a responsible gun owner. Third, and most important, exercise your First Amendment rights. Of course, it is very important to vote in November, but I'm afraid it will not be enough. I have seen such a diversity of ways socialists used to steal the elections in Yugoslavia, and I'm absolutely sure your tyrants will give their best to do the same. You must act now. You must go out on the streets.
She said this before the 2020 election, okay, because she saw it all coming. And that's why she's, talking so extreme here, because of what she's been through. I saw I saw an interview with her where she did outline a lot of the tragedy that she has went through in her country. So for her to talk, about the the 2A and all that stuff, of course we believe in that. Yes. Is it time to start going crazy? I highly doubt that. No. I think President Trump has it under control at this point right now. So, but yeah, let me get back to her. I'm sorry for interrupting so much, guys. I just don't want to get a copyright hit.
Peacefully assemble and protest against tyranny and infringement of your God-given rights. Millions and millions of you decent American people, you must have your voices heard. You must send a very loud and a very clear message to the elected officials in the federal government and in your states that enough is enough, and that you want them to take action now against tyranny. Remind them why you voted for them and why they're elected. Remind them of their sacred duty to protect the vision of founding fathers of the United States of America. Tell them you want your constitutional rights defended and protected. Tell them you want your history preserved. Tell them you want to be able to freely exercise your rights to free speech, to be able to freely and openly show the love for your country, to be able to proudly put American flag in front of your house, and to openly show your pride of your heritage, your culture, and your nation. Tell them you stand proudly with American law enforcement and that you got their back in the same way you want them to have yours. Tell them you want to be treated as grown-up individuals who can make their own decisions. Tell them that there is no place for socialism in America. Tell them you want the traitors of American people out of their offices and out of government. Tell them you want them charged and prosecuted for treason and crimes against humanity. And that if they're not removed from the government and from their offices, that you, freedom-loving Americans, will unleash all your anger on tyrants and you will remove them yourself. It is your constitutional obligation to protect the legacy of founding fathers and to fight against any form of tyrannical government which infringes upon your constitutional rights. Never forget why you celebrate the Independence Day. Don't be afraid whether you will get attacked for exercising your First Amendment rights. You certainly will be. If that happens, defend yourself. Remember, self-defense is not violence, no matter what they tell you and what they accuse you of. President Trump is on your side and on the side of liberty. Because if he weren't, they wouldn't try this hard to sabotage him in every way possible, to make a nightmare out of his life and his presidency, and to remove him from the office. He's in their way of them getting what they want. But he cannot fight this battle alone. He's having a very hard time right now defending your freedoms. That's why you must show him you stand tall and proud with him, united in a fight against tyranny, against hate and violence, and against the ultimate evil of socialism. You must show your open and unlimited support to his vision of draining the swamp.
And she's 100% right. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm going to get into this in a couple future videos. James O'Keefe, okay? Even, you know, I was really disappointed by Tim Pool recently a little bit because, you know, James O'Keefe went on Timcast with a piece of paper from when Biden's Department of Justice raided James O'Keefe, okay? And he got the affidavit from the warrant and it's all redacted. Well, he's all pissed off saying that Trump is not being transparent, but like, dude, do you ever think maybe they're investigating what happened to you, that you were a media outlet that got raided? I mean, give these people a chance. Let's not come out and attack them. James O'Keefe, another one. Another time, a couple of weeks ago, he attacks Pam Bondi. Okay, give these people a chance. They've been there a few months, and they're the only hope we have. They're the only people standing in between them and us, okay? So, yes, we really do. That's why I say it at the end of every video. We need to support President Trump. He's all we have.
And protecting the law and order and freedoms of American people. You must understand that besides being a gatekeeper of free America, President Trump is also a gatekeeper of the free world. This means that if we, free people of the world, lose America, we will lose the world as well. You must not make the same mistakes us Yugoslavs made, because the only casualties of our mistakes were our...
What she just said is so true. If America falls, the entire world falls, not just economically, okay? We basically keep the peace. If we fall, every single problem in the world will erupt. Okay, China will invade Taiwan and God knows who else. This one will invade that one. This one will invade that one. They only stay civil because of the American military and our freedom views. That's the only reason. America cannot fall. This world will destroy each other instantaneously without us.
Ourselves. This is different because now the future of the whole free world is in your hands. Having all that said, I hope you will go out on 4th of July in tens of millions and celebrate Independence Day with your presidents as you should, as free Americans. God bless President Trump, and God bless America.
It's time for Lefty's Loot.
Okay, so let me just get rid of this real quick. When I first saw that, I thought that was so powerful. And I always felt like that video never got the traction that it deserves. I know a lot of people have seen it, but I hope it reignites. I know I don't have a big channel, guys. I'm trying. Subscribe if you like my content. You know, I'm a hardcore patriot, guys. You know, I'll never tell you guys a lie. I'll never sell you out for some advertisers or any of that stuff that went on. Subscribe to me on Rumble too under MAGA Headline News. I am planning on hitting some different subjects in the future. You know, I'm a UFO enthusiast. I like a lot of different other subjects that do kind of pan into all of this. So we'll be doing some things as I progress, but you know, I am brand new. I'm trying. So hit the like button, comment, help me out, subscribe. That would be great. And as far as this woman from Yugoslavia, she couldn't have said it better. This is a Marxist playbook. This is a color revolution that we're under. You can't negotiate with these people. They don't care how hypocritical they are, as long as they could keep convincing the low IQ citizens of America, they will continue. All that needs to happen is enough people wake up. And you know, I think my next video, I'm going to be doing like a rant on the auto pen and breaking down my opinion on the auto pen. So tune in for that, because I really do think that this is the big one. At first, I didn't think it was. And I really think that this is all President Trump needs to take down the deep state and probably expose everything. So tune in for that. I'll probably try to make that tomorrow. And like I said, guys, always continue your support for President Trump. He has our best interests at heart. Okay. He needs us. He's doing all the heavy lifting, but he needs us. He needs our support. Don't be like James O'Keefe and everybody else trying to, you know, attack him or, you know, dig at him for every little thing. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they know. You don't know what their plans are. Give them a chance. Okay. Bongino, Cash, these are people we trusted. We trusted all of these people, and we don't have anybody else. There's no one left. So we really do got to support them. Okay. All right, guys. My name is Mike. This has been MAGA Headline News, and subscribe, comment, like, and share. All right, guys. Have a good night.